Hi guys, good afternoon. I hope you can hear me well. I've got a fancy little microphone so I don't have to have headphones with you. And I'm just wondering if anybody is listening, if you can just give me a thumbs up to let me know you are hearing me well. Today, a very unusual time, I'm connecting with you to talk about something really important and I think something very interesting as well. We are going to be speaking about whether we are actually when we have a feeling that we are very similar to our moms, and now not about those great things that we inherit, and we inherit many great things after our moms, but those things that we always said to ourselves, never, I will never do it this way, I will never be like this. And we will be just talking about, why we are so similar, just like our moms, and also why we sometimes have a feeling that we are turning into our moms, even though we so don't want it, or we don't want it so much. We will be talking about why is it happening, a little bit of neuroscience, but we also will be talking about what to do with it. So I welcome you all on this very unusually, not Saturday, today is Thursday, broadcasting. The reason for this is that I will be on a webinar, international webinar, from Friday all the way up till Sunday. So today, very unusually, connecting with you on Thursday. My name is Lucia Hoxa and I am a lifestyle coach, transformational lifestyle coach, supporting women all over the world, loving the space where I can be with you, connecting with you, bringing you value. So let's hope that today's video is going to be one of those moments where I can connect and I can bring something valuable. This is interactive, it is live. Some of you might be listening to me from replay. Some of you will be live. So those of you who are joining me live, if you can just please give me a thumbs up that this little microphone that I've got plugged in here is working well. Just let me know you can hear me. Otherwise, I will be talking to myself for 1 hour, which is probably not a good idea. So if you hear me, please just little thumbs up that you can hear me. And now let's just go ahead and start. So today, just as a reminder, we are talking about relationship with our mom, really, and we are going to be specifically speaking about what if we discover, like, wow, I am doing things and I'm behaving just like my mom. What's going on? So I give you a little bit of example from just the start, from my relationship and relationship with my mom. So me and my mom, now we have a really, really nice, lovely, intimate relationship, and I love her to bits. In fact, her and my sister have been here for a visit whole weekend, and I enjoyed every single minute of it. But it not always been the case. And when we are children, we are listening to our parents, and we kind of listening to them without having any filter. And what I mean by that, everything what they say is the saint and sacred, and we just take everything what they say or the way they are. We don't have any filter as a truth, as a right way to do things, as the only way to do things. And often this is one of the pitfalls. Till a certain age, I think age of 6 or 7, we don't have this filter at all. And you and me know that once we grow up, we get into the teenagers age, when we start discovering that other parents and our family members, other family members and our friends' parents, they are doing things in a different way. And we start comparing, and we start realizing that maybe not everything what our parents and how specifically our moms, what they are doing and how they are doing it is absolutely correct, or is the right way. And so we are becoming confronted with this realm of subconsciously we are still trying to be loyal and to our moms, because our moms are goddesses, our creators. But at the same time, we are maybe having a little internal fight with ourselves, thinking, yeah, but I don't really, it doesn't feel right. His mom or her mom is doing it differently, and she's different, and she does different things, and in a different way, and there start to be a little war inside us when we start discovering, well, actually I don't, and then we get to the point where it's like, actually, as an adult, I don't agree with this. And in some point we say to ourselves, never ever ever I will be like my mom. And then later on, when we become moms ourselves, we say to ourselves, never ever ever I will be treating my daughter this way. And before we know it, suddenly we are behaving that way. We are even saying the same words as our mom. We are recognizing, like, oh my God, that very thing that I didn't want to become when I was a child and a teenager, and I said I will never ever smoke because I hate cigarettes. Both parents are smoking. Suddenly you find ourselves being a smoker yourself, yeah? Or many other examples. Please write to me if this resonates with you, or if anything like this happened to you, whether you caught yourself doing something, which is sometimes is a good thing, it doesn't have to be always negative, and you realize, oh my God, this is exactly what my mom used to do when I was a kid. There is also good things, like I know I got this little thing that I'm like, I never leave the house without the surface of my kitchen desk being clean. I don't know, there is something weird, but I know my mom always used to have it. So it's not always the bad things, but it's so important to recognize it and to distinguish which of the things that we inherited are serving us, and we want to keep them and nourish them, and they are good for us, for our environment and for our children, and which one of those are actually the ones that are not serving us anymore, that are causing the friction, often arguments, and so on. So we will be talking a little bit about it in the next few minutes, and I'm going to have a sip of water. But if you can, those of you who are listening to me live, can you please give me a thumbs up that you can hear me with this my fancy little new microphone? Okay, just a little thumb up. Is that possible? Hopefully I'm not talking to myself completely. Okay, and just to remind you guys, this is interactive, so let me know if this makes sense. Any kind of like little thumbs up or a smiley face, or Kati, let me know if you are hearing me. Good, thank you so much. So anything, any questions you have, or any stories you've got to share, it will contribute to so many on this platform. So feel free to comment or say, yes, I have this, I recognize this, or this is not, like, my mom is wonderful and I absolutely want to be exactly like her. Now, in my practice, I met obviously I keep on meeting wonderful women with amazing moms, but I don't think I had so far like one woman who would say, I know my mom is perfect and I want to be exactly like my mom, like nothing added, nothing taken off. So if you do recognize this subject and resonate with what I'm talking about, I just want to let you know, it's very, very normal thing. So let's move on, and we are now going to talk about, how does this happen? Like, why is it happening? Is it genes, or is it like, what is it? Is it magic that we just suddenly, the very thing that we didn't want to have, is appearing in our life, and we start fighting with it? And let's face it, sometimes we feel so hopeless about it. I'll give you an example. I remember one of my arguments with my husband years ago, where I was like, You know, as women, we have a really great deal of power, but the same way we can create, we have the same power to destroy. Do you recognize it? One of those moments we are like dragons, like spitting the fire, especially on those people we love the most, like children and our partners. Yes, that is often triggered, and often we just in these situations recognize ourselves as like these really our moms, you know. And in my case, those years ago, that was the moment where I was like, you know, I was really horrible to my husband. I was not proud of it. I was swearing. I was you know, telling him things. I was telling him he's useless, and you know, you know, he's lazy, and all those things, like really assaulting, no respect whatsoever, which is the very thing that men need from us. And you know, and the worst thing is that it felt good in that moment. It felt like I'm completely right, and I have a right to say these things. And actually, it felt good that I'm releasing all this anger that accumulated inside me. And then, of course, I regretted it, and I felt really sorry, and I took it too far, and I promised myself I will never ever do it again. And yet again, I did it again, you know, in next month's time when another stuff accumulated. Let me know, girls, if you recognize yourself in this one. I hope and I really trust hearing lots of you, lots of your stories, that I'm not the only one in this one. And what I want to say is that it's interesting that just in those situations when we have a friction, where we feel almost like threat or attack, in that moment we don't feel it that way, but when we are in a state where we can't control our emotions, is something stronger than what we are. And just in those situations, often we recognize and hear in our head the our mom, you know, and possibly the worst bits of our mom. In my case, it was, you know, relationships of my parents, where my mom, and her default, for whatever big background she had, you know, she didn't treat my dad with respect. She, you know, as a default, I inherited that men are lazy and useless and really like waste of space. Imagine if I keep this belief. You know, imagine if I don't work with this belief, if I don't recognize that it's something that doesn't serve me, I would definitely not be with my husband now, and I would definitely not enjoy the time spending with him as much as I do it for the past almost 10 years now. So what I'm trying to say is that it is very normal, it is happening, and if you feel like you are alone, you are not. Now, so how is this happen? Like how come we don't have a control over it? What is actually happening in our mind? And I mentioned a little bit of neuroscience in there as well. Well, the answer is in contemporary neuroscience. According to this research, it's quite well known that our brain, and the way our brain operates, is that obviously when we are children, we are, you know, like a sponges, we are sucking up in this information that is writing into our subconscious mind, and there are neural paths that are being created about the world, about the people. These information obviously we absorb from the dynamics in our family, from what is happening and how is it happening, how our parents interacting with each other, what, you know, what we are observing from our friends, broader family, siblings, and so on and so on. What is creating in our brain is a neuropath. So if I simplify it, it's almost like, you know, you have a field with a high grass, and there is a path that someone went through that path before, and because the brain is very clever and everything, how we are wired up is very clever. Of course, we are not going to go, through the bushes, like through the very high grass that is on the right and on the left. We will go straight and be very happy we found a path that is paved for us. And so it's so much easier to, walk it through. And this is what happens, the path is really metaphor for the experience in life. Whether it was good or bad, it is something what neuroscience called familiar. It is a familiar experience that we walked before, we experienced before, and because it's familiar, whether it's good or bad, it feels safe. As a human beings, we've been born, and our main, other than breeding and obviously keep the spreading the genes and survival of the species, our other main task here in this world for thousands of years was to survive. So really, our brain is wired up that way, to protect us, to keep us safe. And in order to keep us safe, we are following the patterns that are familiar because we can cling on to it. It doesn't feel threatening. And so we naturally follow those patterns. Now, brain doesn't recognize this, that it might not serve you, or it might be your old you, or it might be your mom who was acting in those situations the way that wasn't exactly right. No, all the brain knows is like, oh, click, path, I go that way because it's familiar, it's easy, and it keeps me safe and protected. Does that make sense, girls? Let me know if this is making sense so far. Yeah? So basically, whatever you hear in your childhood, you're repeating and copying these patterns because it feels right. Okay? And let me just see, I've got some notes again for you that I created. That's why I'm looking down. And the reason for that is that I don't want to, I actually wrote an article if any of you want to receive my newsletters, it's all in there. But even in this broadcasting, I don't want to miss out on anything really important. Often, of course, if we are in this mode of repeating the patterns from our moms and we are not aware of it, we just feel this strong urge and blissfully just follow whatever. We do, of course, have a tendency to then do the same and pass it on to our daughters. It's just kind of something that is passing on from generation to generations, maybe for centuries and centuries. They say that 7 generations before and 7 generations after, that's what we have a capacity to influence if we consciously work on ourselves through the personal development. So we are really releasing those souls before us, and we are giving opportunity for our children and all those generations ahead of us. For me, is really inspiring concept, knowing that I'm doing something not just for myself but also for my children and all those babies and people who will come after me. So how to go about it, knowing this often doesn't make any difference. I'm sure you experienced it, like reading a book, even if the book is like really nice and it's easy to read and it makes sense and all those things. Like I had one of very lovely ladies yesterday on the phone, and she really nicely, not to this degree of neuroscience, but she very nicely described to me, she's very much aware of what is happening. She actually had it with her dad, in a situation with her daughter. That's where where it really starts happening. When we become mothers, our daughters, our sons are the mirror for us. So with her, it's happening in situations that remind her the situations of she had with her dad. And the worst is that it reminds her of the pain she felt as a child when her father was reacting the same way. In this circumstance, she was helping her daughter to understand something for school, and she was not getting it. She was getting really impatient, and before she knew it, she was reacting in a very similar way how her father used to react to her, in, you know, anger, impatient, like those kind of harmful words that, you know, she said to her daughter. And she felt really she feels really bad about it. She doesn't want to do it. Obviously, she doesn't want to cause the pain for her daughter, especially when she knows how much it was hurting her when she was a child, exactly the same way. But it's just like almost like she's not able. Thank you, Olivia, spot on. It's almost like she was expressing that she's not able to stop it. It's like almost like some force that is, you know, guiding us, and we are not able to shut up or suppress it in any way. And it is very difficult when we get into that mode. Now, if you recognize yourself in it, I want to let you know there is a way out, and we will talk about it a little bit in a moment. But first of all, I will say no amount of knowing often makes any difference to us. So even the great book, even the knowledge that, you know, where it's coming from, you know, the basis of it, the background, our childhood, you know, we understand a lot of things, but it makes no real difference if we cannot apply it into our life. If we cannot, if we don't have a right guidance, so we can transform things from the very core, from the very core of ourselves, and really be aware not only about like where it came from, but raise awareness, and more importantly, train the muscle that this amount of awareness, and use it in everyday life. And for that itself is a process, and that itself, it needs practice, and it needs someone who you feel you are accountable to. It needs a bit of guidance, because let's face it, if we are left to our own devices as human beings, we are a bit naughty. We are just a bit lazy. We are a bit like, oh, you know, it's not too bad. I mean, it's fine. You know, next time I won't blow up. I don't. You know, it's bad. It's painful, but maybe it's not as painful as I think, and I will get better. And sometimes it takes time till we get to the point where we are ready, when we feel that, do you know what, like, hands up, I actually not handling this. It's been persevering and nothing is changing, no matter how many books I read, no matter how many YouTube videos I see. That's the moment where maybe is a time to reach out and allow someone who we trust to guide us. So there is a way out, and it's wonderful when we get on this journey, because I can't tell you how much and what a great relief and what amount of freedom, how much energy will be released, and then how much space will be created when we clear up all those things that don't serve us, when we experience, and that's not like theory, but we actually experience in our own life, in moment where, you know, we would react this way, but we choose this way, not because like, you know, I can't, you know, I can't eat chocolate. No, I want, you know, I can't. No, like I choose strawberries, just like I said to my friend yesterday. You know, it is phenomenal when that level of transformation happen. And for that, we need a little bit of courage, and we need a little bit of commitment. And there is a time for it, and we can work with it wonderfully. So, couple of points here that I want to guide you through. First of all, practical points. You are not your mom. Okay, you never been, you never will be. And by the way, genes don't play the role in this. Yes, we inherit, like I've got a similar elbows and knees, and this part, nails than my mom, and I love that about myself because I think that's nice. But obviously we inherited some traits, but in terms of the latest research showed that in terms of genes, they don't actually play that much role, even in, you know, illnesses we inherit, and definitely not the way we behave and our genes on this kind of level. And it makes a lot of sense. I actually sent this article to my cousin, who is a scientist in Vienna, and she herself, she actually is a genetic, she's focusing on genetics as a scientist, and she herself said, yeah, absolutely, it makes a lot of sense to me. So, you know, I'm convinced. And on a basis of this is amazing to know, because, you know, what it means that we don't have to just say, you know, I am like my mom because it's in my genes and I can do nothing about it. Absolutely not. The neuropaths I was talking about, the neuroscience is actually telling us that, yes, you know, if you have a little dip, you know, like a water is going through the current, of course water is not going to jump itself out of the, you know, this paved little path in between the, you know, mud and the stones. Of course we need to actively do something to create a new path through which this water will flow, but it's totally possible. Yeah, it is, of course, from the beginning it feels unnatural, and it might feel a little bit like, you know, hard work, or even like impossible at the beginning, but it's totally possible. And I dare to say, and I will go as far as to have a courage to at least give it a go and try, will give you completely new life. So you are not your mom, and another point is your children are not you. It's the same thing. Sometimes also your children will sound more like your mother. Did you ever experience that? Well, obviously my kids can't talk yet, but let me know if you experience that as well. Well, that might be that you are sounding like your mom and your kids are just copying whatever you are saying, and most importantly, who you are being. So let's be, that's another motivation, that's another reason, like really good reason for us moms to be responsible moms. And the best thing that we can give to our children is freedom to choose, and also allow them to observe us as the best version of ourselves, as the best example they have for their lives in, you know, the way they create them being little women very soon. Janka is writing, "Ahoj Lucy, nice to see you here." Good, absolutely agree. Thank you for this comment, Yani. And for the rest of you as well, let me know, if not in a, you know, direct comment, or let me know in a personal message if you are experiencing something like this and you are hitting that wall, the barrier, and you're feeling like, yeah, but I can't do anything about it. You know, let me know. I can definitely have a conversation with you, and we can see what is possible and how I can support you as well. I'll gladly do that. I know how much difference it made in my life and in life of all those women who I worked in the past 17 years. Katka is writing, kids just copy everything they see at home. Absolutely everything. Like yesterday, you know, my husband put his arms like that. My kids are like a year and a half, and they do the same. And, you know, we clean the floor in the kitchen every morning because there is a mess after breakfast. Hi, Alice now takes the little rug and she wants to do the same, you know, and that's wonderful. There's the positive things, but, you know, they also copy all the, you know, not things that we don't exactly want them to copy. Actually, yesterday I just drifted off for a little moment. I had a really nice conversation with someone, and we've been talking, my friend Celine, and we've been talking like, isn't it amazing? And I said, actually, I don't agree that parents shouldn't agree in front of children. I think it's okay to agree in front of the children, but what is very important is that children also see when mommy and daddy make amends, you know, and how they do it, that they are also present, not only, you know, being a part of the argument, but also they are present of this moment where mommy and daddy, are, say sorry and, fall back in love with each other again. Let me know if you have experience with this and if you agree with it. Livia is saying, I sometimes really hate how my childhood affected me till today. I do it so unconsciously, and sometimes I don't know how to stop. Thank you so much, Livia, for sharing this. And I think it's like thousands and hundreds of thousands, probably millions of us, and we all to a certain degree been affected with our childhood. The key, I think, and that's what I keep on doing, is ongoing journey for me as well, is to rather than having those things that affected us in kind of way, recognize how they affected us, and from this empowering space and space of unawareness, and like we often things just happening over and over again and we are unaware of why they're happening. It's often connected to our sacred wounds from our childhood, how I call them. And it starts with awareness and it continues with courage to actually practice, to break the patterns of behavior, to do something new that is coming naturally from this space of transformation that you experience when you set yourself on a journey of discovery of who you really are, when you strip off all those layers that you inherited that don't serve you anymore. So I hope this is making sense. Let me know if it's what you are getting and if it's giving you something that either inspires you, or you can even get some tips or points that you can work with and you can take on. It is a process and it doesn't happen overnight, and it is something that we engraved within us for many years, when we didn't have opportunity to say, hold on a minute, I don't agree with this. We just absorbed it, like I said at the beginning, as a sponge, not realizing that is something we are not aligned with. And it's very normal. But it's also, or I should say, and it's also very important that we don't have to be like a little boat on this big ocean that, we let the waves to throw us to this side and that side, and, we just kind of being in an impact of whatever happened. And I mean it, whatever happened in your childhood. I mean, God, I've got stories to tell. Like, I'm always so humble in front of every one of you who approaches me and allows me and trusts me to, find the courage to guide you, because every story is different. That's part of the reason why I absolutely love what I do, and I probably do it till the day I die, because it just makes so much sense to me, and the results are amazing. Even years after you finish my programs, they still resonate with you, they still keep on living inside you, and things are still happening along those lines, because you paved a new path, not the one that you've been destined to. Because the truth is, if we are brutally honest with ourselves, if you're happy and you're blossoming and you're shining and you feel the light in your heart and you live passionately, fantastic. Please keep on doing it, keep on sharing it with the world, and keep on inspiring others. But if you wake up in the morning thinking something is really missing in your life, there is something that is, sometimes you can't put a finger on it, but something is missing in your life and it's not the way you want to go, then if the truth is, if we don't do anything about it, well, the chances are that we will keep on going in that path, in that paved path. And if we keep on doing what we are doing, we will only get what we already have. So I want to encourage you to, whenever you're ready, because sometimes we need to get to the point when we are like, okay, that's it, enough. I'm ready to invest in myself, because this is my life and it's the only one I have. On that note, I also want to, finish acknowledging our parents, like hugely, because the truth is, wounds or no wounds, they have their own wounds. We all have some. But it's very, very important to acknowledge our parents for the great job that they did over the years. Really, they raised us the best possible way they could. Really. And their parents also, they done exactly the same. So let's acknowledge our parents, because when you compare their upbringing to our upbringing, they already made millions of miles and the steps towards, amazing upgrade from how they've been brought up by the parents who experienced even Second World War, and their life was really a pure survival. So let's acknowledge that, like it really wasn't easy to bring up children those days, and it was about pure survival. It's only last 50 years when we are, and it's very last 50 years when we are like a little bit listening to our children, and probably not even that, guys, like probably only last maybe 10-20 years we are talking about mental and emotional well-being of our children. Did you know that 100 years ago the very little children didn't even, the science was saying that they don't even have emotions. In fact, some of the doctors used to say that, very small children don't even need anesthetics for operations that have been performed on them. I mean, how much we traveled from that space. Now we are maybe first generation where we are paying much more attention to our child well-being. We are talking about things that matters, like for example on this video, I think it's very important. We are now, more and more of us, we are becoming conscious mothers, and I have absolute joy that about the fact that as a mothers, we are able to now stop the patterns, maybe first generations ever in a history, to interrupt the patterns of whatever we inherited from our moms and their moms from their moms and their moms from their moms, and this is opportunity that is important, that we are aware of, that we are aware of the choice that we have, that we can do not only for ourselves but also for all those generations to come. Thank you very much for your time, guys, for listening, for your comments. I love you lots. Let me know what subjects, what would you like to hear about next. I'm here for you, and I just love being a contribution on these videos. We will hear each other again on Saturday in just over 2 weeks' time. Let me know how you're doing. I love you lots.